Hey, I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady, and this is what I did last week. I don't know where the time goes, because I'll just be doing stuff in life, and then I'll log on to WoW, and suddenly it's like 10 o'clock, and I'm like, I guess I'll play for 5 minutes? So most of the stuff I wanted to do, I did not get around to. The big thing that I want to touch on first, though, is that I went into Zekvir double ? Difficulty on Saturday, and I spent about an hour in there, and I finally killed him. Throughout that hour, I had a bunch of frustration. At one point, I was just like clenching my fists and gritting my teeth, just like, come on! When I finally killed him, I let out some mythic world first screams. It was about an 8.5 minute fight that required all of my concentration. The hardest part was just handling Enfeeble, and it wasn't until I watched another warrior talk about how he did it that I realized that Enfeeble is a root, so I can use Avatar, Odin's Fury, and Bladestorm to break out of that and not die instantly. And once I figured that out, I was regularly getting to phase 2. But then what would happen in phase 2 is the fear that he does, it shoots out orbs in 4 different directions. And I just kept spacing on that and dying to that over and over again. I would just get so frustrated to the point where I started doing the poll, and the entire time I'd be going, watch the fear, watch the fear, watch the fear, watch the fear. And then the fear would come out and I would just be watching the fear, watching the fear, watching the fear. And so I drilled it into my head and I finally started not dying to that. I think it was like 5 or so pulls before I killed him. I wiped at like 1.8 million health. I was so heartbroken and frustrated, and the pull when I finally killed him, he got pretty low on health, and then he spawned one more of those webs. And I knew that I needed to kill that web, because if I didn't, I was gonna die. So like, I just hyper-focused on that ad, and the entire time in my head, I'm thinking, kill this, watch mechanics, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. I killed that thing, and it was just staying alive, and I felt this peace wash over me. I was like, I have this, as long as I don't die to mechanics, it's mine. And then he finally fell over. I had such a great time with this, as frustrating as it was just really, really fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the future seasons with the hard difficulty of whatever this boss will be. I don't know if they're keeping Zekvir and adding more difficulties, or if they're replacing it with a different end boss. But this was just really fun. It really brought me back to the old Mythic progression days, but I didn't have to just bash my head against the wall for hours and hours and hours on end every week to kill one boss. I was riding that high for like at least 2 hours afterwards. So getting that done was nice in lieu of not doing any tier 11 delves this week. I jumped into a couple, but I just got blasted. I don't know what's going on. It's just so annoying. Maybe this week if I get some more item level upgrades, I can do that, but just right now, I'm gonna not do those. It's just for my own sanity. Speaking of item level upgrades, on my warrior, he did not get any item level, but just before last week's reset, I did a plus 10 Dawnbreaker, and it was the first 10 that I've done this season, as well as the first Mythic Plus I've done that unlocks a portal. Really happy and excited to have gotten that. And because of that, my vault had just one good piece in it, because everything else that I did throughout the week was just kind of lower level. And what I got was Mythic Track Tier Shoulders, which replaced my Heroic Track Tier Shoulders. But I was pretty happy to see that was some pretty good luck in terms of what I got. This week for Mythic Plus, my rating started at 2260, I'll just say. I don't know what it was at after I did that Dawnbreaker, even though it was before reset, so we'll just say it started at 2260, and I'm ending at 2398, so an increase of 138. I timed 9 Stone Vaults, a 9 City of Threads, and that was actually 2-chested, as well as a 2-chested Necrotic 10. So I got my second 10 in my second portal of the season. I've never done a Necrotic Wake that fast before. I think we were starting the 3rd boss around the time I usually get to those 2 Marauders before the 2nd boss. We also had a pretty big first pull, which was by accident, and we had no deaths, and I was like, oh, we're just a bunch of gamers, I guess. Outside of that, I had 1 disbanded City of Threads at a 9, and then another disbanded Stone Vault 10, so that was unfortunate. I jumped into Heroic Nerobar Palace as well, which I'm mainly just going for a chance at the mount off Ansrac. I'm also doing this on LFR on my warrior and my hunter, and hopefully I get it soon. So I'm looking forward to today's vault, because I'm excited to see what the Mythic Track piece will be from that 10 Necrotic Wake that I did. Outside of current content on my warrior, I was doing a few other things, including continuing to work on the BFA meta achievement. I did some more island expeditions. I got 1 criteria for one of the achievements that I'm missing, and it's just such a tedious slog. And then on top of that, I was doing the Uldum tumor farm. I think I started at like 350. I'm trying to get at least 50 per day, if not 100 to 150 this weekend I got per day. So I have a little over 250 of those tumors left to go, and then one of the more grindy achievements is done with. Not on my warrior, but the shaman that I boosted in BFA who had done a lot of the quest lines already. I was working through the Stormsong Valley quest line on him. I guess he had never quested there, so I was starting from scratch. I'm still working on that. I think I'm on the last chapter, so I should be getting that this week. So once I'm done with Stormsong, I'll start farming the Let's Be Friends achievement. For 20th anniversary stuff, I was just doing the regular stuff. I was able to buy the last tier 2 set piece, so I'm all checked out there. And then if you haven't seen it, on Friday I posted a video talking about how Squirt, the Pet Battle Master, is available at the 20th anniversary event all day, every day. So I spent a lot of time this week, and I will be spending a lot of time in the coming weeks doing that. I have leveled so many pets in the last week. And the last thing on my warrior that I want to talk about is that he reached a huge milestone this past week, which is getting to 500 days played, which is the equivalent of 12,000 hours on one character. The majority of my playtime on my account has been from this one character. I think I'm close to 600 total across my entire account, so quite a large percentage of my time has been on just this warrior. I still have so many more things to do, and I'm excited to keep playing him and getting achievements, mounts, gear, all that stuff. Outside of my warrior, I played my hunter, kind of. I was just looting war supply crates in war mode. I was able to cap out on the conquest for the season, so each week they'll just go up, so it'll be a lot easier to maintain now. Because of that, I was able to get my item level 8 higher, so I started at 588.43 and I'm ending it at 596.43. I bought a few new pieces. I think I just have one more green item, which is my neck, to replace, and then a few Warmonger pieces as well before I'm completely gladiatored out. For achievements this week, I only got 10 more points, so I started at 41,995 and I'm ending it at 42,005. The achievement that got me over the hump was getting Bran to level 50. I'm very happy to be at 42k already. Like I said, that first 2k going into War Within will be easy, and then the last 3k to get to that 45k goal that I had for this entire expansion is going to be much more difficult. So I think the real work starts now, and I'm excited to see how quickly I can get to 43, 44, and then 45. But that's not the only achievement that I got. Like I said last week, it's kind of annoying that there are some achievements that are not counting towards my total because I guess they're Alliance only, so therefore it's only going to count for my Alliance characters. But on my Alliance Hunter, I realized that I had not completed the Wetlands Quest achievement. So I went through and finished that, and now in Eastern Kingdoms, I 100%ed on that tab on both Horde and Alliance. In addition to that, I'd got the Reigning Champion achievement, which is required for the BFA meta. You have to score 600 points in a horse event, and this took me 11 attempts, and it was so frustrating. I watched a bunch of videos, I read a bunch of Wowhead comments, and then I just couldn't get it for the longest time, and then finally I did, and it's over with, and I don't have to do that anymore, thankfully. Right now I just have 6 achievements left before I have all of them that I need for the BFA meta. There are 2 Island Expedition achievements that I need, 2 Warfront related achievements, one of which I think, based on the wording in Wowhead now, it's instead of doing all of the rare events in one of the things, it says to do 6, and I have all of them but 1 done, so that might automatically complete for me when the patch goes live. But aside from that, I've got 2 corruption achievements left. There's a tumor one that I was talking about that I probably will get this week, and then killing all the corrupted NPCs, which will probably take a little bit longer. And then the last one is Let's Be Friends, which again, I should be able to start that this week, depending on my RNG, since I finished the quest line, the precursor in Stormsong Valley. So definitely not a whole lot of achievements left, and the ones that I have left aren't that hard, I guess. The one I'm least looking forward to is the one to kill all the corrupted NPCs, because from what I understand, I need to kill specific NPCs and hope that they respawn corrupted, which those just always suck. But from there were a couple of mounts that I got this week, starting with the Azure World Chiller. This dropped off Doomwalker, which I didn't know could happen, and it was awesome because that saved me 5,000 Time Warp badges. I love this mount model. I think it was from one of the previous anniversary events or like something Wrath Classic related. So I never got that till now, and I just love this. And the other mount that I got was the Crimson Glimmerfur, which I've been freezing in the trading post since like July. And finally this month there were no mounts in the trading post, so I was finally able to buy it. In other news, I started watching the original Star Trek from the 60s with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, and I was kind of writing it off thinking, oh, this will be just a thing I kind of start, I'm probably gonna suck, and I'll just, whatever, I'll go to the next series. I think I'm like 10 episodes in, and it is so good. I was not expecting a show from the 60s to capture me this much, and have me on the edge of my seat almost every single episode so far. Couple of Christmas movies that I watched this week, starting with Best Christmas Ever. This movie was so annoying. The mom in this was just such a selfish B-word. But it's essentially about this family that goes to one of the mom's friends' houses for Christmas by mistake because her son put in the stuff in the GPS instead of her sister's, and then chaos ensues because she's trying to prove that the life she's living isn't the one she portrays to people. Very annoying. I watched the SantaCon, which was actually decent. I think the main actor in that was really funny. An ex-con man gets a job as a mall Santa, and just before his shift ends, he decides to promise a child that he will get his parents back together for Christmas. And then to not ruin this kid's Christmas, he actually tries to do that. It was kind of low budget, but I enjoyed it and I laughed. I watched Christmas on Cherry Lane, which was actually pretty decent. It's about 3 different families that lived in the same house in different time periods and them celebrating Christmas. I like the stories that were involved, and then at the end, all the families tie together somehow, and it was really cool to see that. I was not expecting this level of detail in like line drawing in a Hallmark movie. It was really cool. And then lastly, I finally watched A Christmas Story. I've seen bits and pieces throughout the years, and I know this is a classic, but this movie sucked. It was just really boring and just went on and on and on. But that is everything that happened to me this past week. Let me know how your week went. Whether it's in-game or real life, what's going on? If you're already subscribed to my channel, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. If you're not yet, I'd appreciate it if you would at least consider it. Thanks for watching. I love you lots. And if you want to see the best way to level all your pets from 1 to 25 in about 8 minutes, click the video on screen now.